Yes. Come on. Come on in the room. Come on. Is anybody else excited and ready for Therapy Thursday? I'm excited, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. Depending on where you are, it is a stormy night here in Houston, Texas. Born and raised on the playgrounds where I spend most of my days. Houston, Texas, we have a stormy night, but we are still gonna deliver a word that is going to bless your soul. And my prayer is that it will be an assistant to your evolution, a secretary to your becoming process. Come on in the room, and you know how I like to do. Could you tag somebody in the chat? Welcome. Look at you being intentional. Welcome. I see you, bro, being intentional. Welcome. I see you, sis, being intentional. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, and just welcome somebody else. Even though this is virtual, my desire is to make it feel personal. Tag somebody and say, I see you being intentional. Because God will do the miracle, but we must present the 2 fish and the 5 loaves, and that is us being intentional with what we have. And the time that you have on tonight, you are being intentional with getting some biblical, therapeutic word in your life, and I honor you for that. So come on in the room. Thank you so much for all of the love for my wife and I, our birthday last week, and a happy early Mother's Day to all mothers in the room. My wife and my mother and I have a special customized message for you on Sunday for all mothers. Y'all help shape a generation. So I'm excited for everything God is doing. And also thank you so much for everybody who has just been praying for us and giving towards the ministry as we are pursuing a new location. So I want to get to work because I think this is just going to be good. Ever so often, I get the beautiful privilege of when I'm preparing a message or when I'm engaged in sermon prep, it really speaks to me. It speaks to me. So if it blesses me during sermon prep, I can only imagine what is going to happen when I get to share it with you all. So let's get to work. I want to start tonight by telling y'all about this true story. This is a true story. I was roughly a week out of college, 22 years old, just graduated. And at that time, I was really heavily doing Christian rap. I was traveling quite a bit. I was a student pastor, and I was doing Christian rap from different churches. And I was driving in from Hutto, Texas. I'll never forget it. They had a Friday Night Live. I was rapping with some teenagers and college students. Then I had a chance to minister. People got saved. It was wonderful. So I was driving from Hutto, Texas back to Houston. It was roughly a 2-hour drive or so. I got home at 4 a.m. and my mom did the most evil thing that you could ever do. She came in my room at 9 a.m. Now remember, I said I got home at 4. Now, if I got home, just went straight to bed without showering, any of that, that means I would have 5 hours of sleep. But I got home, I showered, I was looking at, some of the lyrics I planned on knowing for another song, doing all that. So I probably went to bed maybe 5, 6. And my mom just does the most dark thing that you could ever do. She comes in my room at 9 a.m. and turns on the light. Now you have to understand, my parents are advocates for cleanliness. They told me all during my adolescent years, my mom kept saying, Jerry, a wife is not gonna like no dirty husband. Pick up your shoes, pick up your socks. Jerry, a wife's not gonna like no dirty husband. She might think you cute, but no woman wants to deal with a filthy man. So she comes to the room at 9 a.m, turns on the light, and she's like, look at this room. Look at this room. You got your shoes over here. You got your socks, Jerry. There's no wife. She's not gonna wanna deal with the dirty husband. Now, I'm tired. I'm sleep deprived. I'm exhausted. And see, when you're sleep deprived, you're not you when you're sleep deprived, okay? You're a little more irritable, all right? The flesh has a likelihood to win when you are sleep deprived, especially when your sleep is interrupted about your room and some socks on the floor. So I'm like, okay, I'm tired of this. I walk out the house and I go to an apartment. I'm moving. This is the last Saturday. She is gonna come in my room and wake me up talking about clean my room. The last one, and I'm 22, and I'm a week out of college, I'm gone. So I went to an apartment, I applied, I showed them my pay stubs, and I got the key that day. That night, I was sleeping on the floor in my apartment because I was like, listen, I'm gonna get some good rest. True story. And I noticed as I began to move in and everything that every Saturday, my apartment was dirty. And I began to wonder, how does my apartment keep getting so dirty? Like, I was kind of trained to clean on Saturdays, and Saturdays I would just be perplexed. Like, how does my apartment keep looking like this? It's because of the shirt on my couch that I ignored on Monday. It's the shoes that I ignored in the middle of the floor on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's the dish that I left in the sink from the meal I ate on Thursday and Friday. It's the sock. It's the sock that I kept walking over that I took off originally because the bathroom floor was wet because I got out the shower and I forgot and I just threw the sock on the floor. It was the sock that I kept on overlooking each and every day. It led to me having a filthy apartment on Saturday. All right, here it is. Here it is. It was the puddle that causes for us to miss the coming flood. It was overlooking the puddle that causes for us to engage in a flood situation. It was the 100 of bad decisions that led up to the great fall of the ministry. It was the fear of the fire that caused for us to overlook the smoke. It's the smoke will kill you before the fire ever burns you. And what is the fire? That is the act. That's like actually having sex, actually getting high. So like, okay, we're not going to get the fire, but you keep on inhaling smoke. And what is smoke? Smoke is the dismissal of a standard or principle that you keep overriding to do what you want. One more time. What is the smoke? The smoke is the dismissal of a standard or principle that you have overridden so that you can engage in what you want. It's the sock. It's the sock that we keep on overlooking. And then I recognize something. I keep getting mad at the wrong thing. Like, I recognized the problem wasn't my mother. The problem was my patterns. Here it is. This is gonna help somebody forgive somebody. This is gonna help the person who is dealing with bitterness, and all bitterness does is contaminate the container. This is gonna help somebody. Could you be mad at the person, but you keep overlooking the pattern? The pattern. I know you're upset and trying to consider, am I gonna call mom on Sunday and tell her happy Mother's Day? Or am I gonna continue to ignore her due to what she said to me? Could it be there was a pattern that existed before your mother that she just got in alignment with, and we have to deal with the repercussions of her being in alignment with that pattern? Perhaps the problem is not the problem is the pattern. I know you possibly are upset at that ex-friend or that ex-church or the ex-girlfriend or the ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, ex-wife, but could it be, y'all, could it be there was a pattern that existed before they arrived that caused for them to leave? Could it be the only reason you even entertained them is because there was a pattern that existed before them, and when they came in your life, they complemented, listen, they complemented a familiar dysfunctional norm because y'all both have similar patterns. And I wonder how many of us are watching this Therapy Thursday on tonight that you are mistaking the pattern as chemistry. Here it is. Ooh, it's getting real. You are mistaking the pattern as friendship. You are mistaking that's my boy or that's my girls as patterns. So you say things like, well, we just click. No, you don't. Your patterns are just similar. Change the pattern, y'all no longer click. I wonder how many of us are labeling patterns as compatibility, patterns as friendship, patterns as this is just my personality. Is it really? Or is there a pattern that you got in alignment with and now you label that as your personality? I was getting mad at the wrong person. I was upset at my mother, but the problem was not my mother. The problem was my patterns. Please hear me. Please hear me. The shadow of every problem is a pattern. Did y'all hear what I just said? I need us to put that in the room in all caps. The shadow of every problem is a pattern. So wherever there is a overthinking problem, it's because of looping mental created scenario patterns. It's the pattern of me making projections about my future and preparing for them in my present that's causing for me to overthink. The shadow of every problem is a pattern. Control problem, the desire to control the outcome pattern. I want to control how this is going to go. I want to control how this is going to turn out. That's your pattern. That's why you have control issues. The shadow of every problem is a pattern. Substance abuse problem, pattern of taking false escapes. Like weed is just a false escape. Cheap sex is just a false escape. Getting high is just a false escape. That's your pattern. Whenever you want to get away from something, you immediately try to find an escape that is temporary. That's the pattern, which is conducive for the substance abuse problem. The shadow of every problem is the pattern. Suicidal problem, pattern of killing the wrong thing. This is so good, y'all. Suicidal problem, I constantly keep battling with suicide. The pattern is I keep killing the wrong stuff. Just like what I shared with you, I was risking to kill a relationship with my parent because of a pattern I had. Suicide makes you kill the wrong thing. Suicide makes you kill the wrong thing. Yes, something has to die, it's just not you. Perhaps the bitterness has to die, not you. The pattern has to die, not you. A relationship has to die, not you. A habit has to die, not you. Suicide makes you kill the wrong thing. Something does have to die, but it's not you, because the shadow of every problem is the pattern. This is so good, y'all. And listen, I want us to understand this. The gym membership for a problem, meaning how your problems get swole on them boys, how your problems get muscles, is due to the ignorance of a pattern. One more time. The gym membership for your problems, meaning what makes your problems stronger. The gym membership for your problems is the ignorance of a pattern. There's a pattern in your life that you have not identified is problematic, and it is shadowed. There's a problem in your life that you have not identified is due to a pattern. I begin to ask myself and my wife, how does trauma, how does verbal abuse, how does cursing people out, how does poverty-stricken spending habits, how does poor diets, how does that get passed down from generation to generation to generation? How? It's the normalization of a pattern. That's how it goes undetected from bloodline to bloodline, from generation to generation, from baby boomer to millennial, from millennial to Generation Z. How does it keep going undetected? It is because the pattern is seen as normal. Hear me, we repeat what we can't discern is broken. This is so good, man. We repeat what we can't discern is broken. Like mistakes hurt you, they do, but patterns break you. Mistakes hurt you, but patterns break you. And there's so many of us, especially when you hear a message like this and we get emails and DMs and calls to the church so many times and letters, like, man, I wish I would have heard this sooner. I wish I would have learned this content and this information and this intel sooner, if I would have heard this in my past, if I would have heard this sooner, then possibly I would have made different decisions. And I know how you feel. And many times I felt like that. And I pray like, God, if I would have known all of this, my decisions would have been different. And God gave me a perspective shift, and I want to share it with you. For everybody who has ever stated these words, I wish I would have known. I would have done this if I would have known. Okay. How about this? Perspective shift. Why not be proud of the person you were in the past? Stay with me. Be proud of the person that you were in the past that decided to keep on going throughout their journey because it led for you to get here on today. That freed me, y'all. How about be proud of who you were in the past, comma, because that person did not quit on the journey. That person did not give up. That person kept on going. That person kept on pursuing. That person kept on going throughout the journey, which has led you to this very moment. That's why in our Destiny Decision series, I did a whole message entitled, Make Peace with Your Past, because I have to make a peace treaty with who I was, because that's affecting my current decision making on today. But if you shift your perspective to where you're like, okay, the person I was in the past never gave up, but they kept on continuing the journey that God is trying to get them to see who they have been born to be. That's how you got led to this moment on tonight. This is so good. Maybe the problem is not the problem. The problem is every sock you've overlooked because you figured it's not that bad. Maybe the problem is not the problem. The problem is the pattern, because the shadow of every problem is a pattern. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why God prescribes a wilderness. Now it makes sense why God prescribes for us to go to a brook Cherith. Now it makes sense why God prescribes a season of separation, because God wants to help us by dealing with the pattern. Look, let me give you Bible. Numbers chapter 11. I want you to see this. Numbers chapter 11, verse 4. It says, now the mixed multitude who were among them yielded to intense craving. So the children of Israel also wept again and said, who will give us meat to eat? Now, a little biblical context. The children of Israel are out of Egypt. They're out of Egypt and they're heading towards the promised land, Canaan, the land that's flowing with milk and honey, meaning it is agriculturally rich. They're heading towards the promised land. But as they're heading there, they're starting to complain. Who will give us meat to eat? Verse 5, we remember the fish which we freely ate in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our whole being is dried up. There is nothing at all except this manna before our eyes. The scriptures that I want to bring to your attention for just a few more moments. First is verse 5, where it says, we remember the fish. We remember the fish that we had in Egypt. So what are they doing? They're rehearsing a pattern. We remember how our appetites used to be in Egypt. We remember how our appetites used to be sustained in 2018. We remember what we used to like in 2019. We remember how they invited us in 2020. We remember how they were cool with us in 2016. We remember all the friends we had in 2014. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt. But now look, verse 6 says, but now our whole being is dried up. There is nothing except this manna before our eyes. There is nothing except what God is using to detox us. There is nothing except what God is using to rewire the pattern. There is nothing except what God is using to perform surgery. There is nothing except God changing our appetite. You see that? And the part that stood out to me so powerfully was when they said, but now our whole being is dried up. This stood out to me because I felt as though God asked me this question, and I want to ask it to you. What am I trying to dry up in your life, but you're resisting it because of the pattern being familiar? Talk, Holy Spirit. What is God trying to dry up? They said our whole being is dried up, and there is nothing except what God is trying to use to train our appetite. There is nothing, like I'm being dried up. The only thing I have right now is something that is different from my patterns. What is God trying to dry up in your life that you're resisting because it is not a familiar pattern? We don't end up, please hear me, we don't end up at the place we desire. We end up at the place we crave. We don't end up at the place we desire. We end up at the place our patterns take us. And the reason a lot of us are struggling right now, wanting to get over it, free from it, break free from it, no longer respond to it, don't want to cry over it anymore. The reason we feel so stuck with a posture, a perspective, or an addiction or a thought pattern is because the problem is not the problem. I'm trying to get us to see this. The problem is the pattern. The problem is the appetite. The problem is a craving. And that non-detoxed heart is keeping a leash on the next level self. That non-detoxed heart, that non-regenerated heart is the leash that's keeping us from experiencing the next level of ourselves. Because former cravings won't allow you to embrace fresh manna. If I didn't need a haircut, I'd throw my hat. Former cravings won't let you embrace fresh manna. They were complaining about the very thing that God was using to give them another appetite. They were complaining about the very thing that God was using to train them. Remember, he said, I'm going to take you to a land of milk and honey. This means this manna is temporary. But they're complaining about the temporary season that God placed them in to address the pattern, and they complain so much so where they missed the promised land. The first generation of the Israelites, 40 years, they missed the promised land because the thing that God was using to train them, the thing that God was using to detox them from the appetites that they developed in Egypt, which are their patterns. They kept complaining about it. They kept on whining about it. And God was so good and is so good that he gave them quail. He gave them quail. He gave them water from a rock. But they kept on complaining. And I wonder how many of us right now are hyper complainers because we're feeling the drying up of a pattern. This is good. This is good. Former cravings won't allow us to embrace fresh manna. And I'm trying to get us to see. I'm trying to get us to see that we've been going to war with the wrong thing. We think it's the problem. And I'm trying to get you to see it's the pattern of the sock. It's the sock that you keep overlooking that has created to where on Saturday, I'm like, how did my apartment get so dirty? I had to address every day, make sure you put your shirt up. Every day, make sure you put your shoes up. Every day, throw the water bottles away. Every time you eat, wash the dish and put it up. I had to address each sock that I was overlooking. And a lot of us are overlooking the pattern but we're blaming our attitude on the problem. Hear me. It's one thing to know the problem. Okay? It's one thing to know the problem. It's another thing to know the origin and where the knots are that's strengthening the grip of the problem. One more time. It's one thing to know the problem. It's another thing to know the origin of the problem and where the knots are that are strengthening the grip of a problem. See, because whenever we come out of a thing due to the repercussions versus reprogramming. Oh, that's good. Whenever we come out of a thing due to the repercussions versus reprogramming, the enemy can always tempt us with Egypt meals. Whenever we come out of a thing due to the repercussions versus reprogramming, like you're trying to stop because you got caught. Whenever you come out of it due to the repercussions versus reprogramming, the enemy can always send you people who have former patterns. Whoever had a pattern that you used to have in your 2018, whoever has a pattern that you used to have in your 2020, whoever has a pattern that you used to have in your past, I could send them now to you to try to get you to revert back to and relapse back to the place where God brought you out of because you came out, but your patterns didn't. See, you came out, but your patterns didn't. This is why I'm so encouraged by everybody who's striving to be intentional with your healing and biblical intelligence. Because your intentionality and your pursuit of healing is needed so that Jesus could dry the blood flow of whatever in your life left you bleeding. Whatever in your life hurt you, you being intentional is assisting Jesus in making sure that that blood flow dries up, because he dries up patterns. Look at this. Most of us know the story. I don't even have time to break it down. I just want you to see one passage. Mark chapter 5, verse 29. This is the woman with the issue of blood, right? She wanted to be healed. She was tired of the doctor. She was tired of people saying there's nothing that she could do. She was spending all her resources. She began to pursue Jesus, and we probably overlooked this part. Look, verse 29 says, this is after she touched him. It says, immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up. There's that word again. The fountain of her blood was dried up. What is God trying to dry up? Or put it this way, what will God dry up when we pursue to touch him? What will God dry up when we pursue his face? What will God dry up when we have a devoted life? What will God dry up when we have a prayer life? Immediately, the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. What in your life is God trying to dry up, but we're resisting it due to the familiar comfort of a pattern? 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 7, it says, and it happened after a while that the brook dried up. I love this, y'all. Elijah, go to this place. I'm going to tell you that the brook's going to sustain you, but I'm going to let the brook dry up. The woman is ceremonially unclean. She's not even supposed to be out in public, but have the faith enough to come to pursue me, and I'm going to dry up your issue. What is God in your life deliberately drying up? Deliberately. We wouldn't be reading this woman's story if she wasn't intentional with her healing and experienced something being dried up. We would never hear about the showdown on Mount Carmel if Elijah's brook never would have dried up. Elijah never would have been able to ask the widow what's in her house if the brook never would have dried up. What is God trying to dry up in your life, but we're resisting it because of the familiar comfort of a pattern? And I want everybody to say this confession, and I just want to pray. I'm gonna give us some points and I'm done. But I want us to say this confession. Can I get everybody to put this in the room in all caps? Father, dry up any and every pattern that's not conducive for my next. I feel, y'all, I'm not even being churchy. I feel that. Everybody, can I get us to put that in the room? Father,